This is your nasty, freaky, messy, juicy love life based on your fifth house. So this doesn't just have to apply to your fifth house. This can just be your sign in general. Today, I'm going to read for Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. Okay. This is going to be part one, and part two is going to be coming soon. Okay. Aries, fifth house. So you're attracted to leaders, okay? You like people that are dedicated to independence. You despise yes men and people that abuse their power. So you're very enticed by rawness, even if our argument follows, okay? Arguing is not necessarily a deal breaker. In fact, sometimes it turns you on. In relationships, others are alluded to the way that you're simultaneously so bitchy and yet so sweet at the same time. Or perhaps this is your nature, okay? Maybe this is the energy that you are attracted to. You like a sweet persona with a wild streak, or perhaps maybe you are the sweet persona with a wild streak. You're very optimistic with just a dash of brutal honesty. You need someone who can handle your mood shifts. Most people are bamboozled by the way you are both sensitive and stubborn at the same time. People expect you to be one or the other. And so that's why you need somebody that they let you be you. They don't try to make you sweet all the time. And they don't try to set you off all the time either. They just kind of let you be. Okay. So if you're more on the feminine side, you might like being led because it scratches a particular itch, like daddy issues or mommy issues. But you're not going to give anybody the chance to crack a whip on you until you're sure that they're not going to take advantage of you. You like somebody who is wise, reassuring, and willing to lead. For example, if you go to a restaurant and the waiter gives you the wrong food, you want somebody who's going to speak up for you when the waiter doesn't remember your request. You don't want a prison guard though, unless it's in the bedroom. Where's Mars at in your chart? So if you look at Mars in your chart, Mars can tell you about where you might meet this person, and it may tell you more about their nature. As a fifth house in Taurus, all you really want is to be wined and dined and fucked and sucked and used and abused by somebody that loves you. But if you don't necessarily present yourself as like the most obtainable person, okay? Maybe it's the resting bitch face, or maybe you have fuck you written across your forehead. You're more of a low-key whore, okay? You're not necessarily very outspoken with everyone about your nature. You're more secretive about it. And that's kind of where your allure comes from, okay? You can easily present yourself as the good girl or the good boy that's only naughty in the bedroom. And your lovers, they love this about you. So you prefer being approached over being approached, overdoing the approaching, okay? Your relationship history is as exclusive as an Ivy League draft. Everybody on that list is about as stable and as chiseled as the Greek gods. Not everybody can mess with you. Not everybody can get into your vicinity. But here's the thing. Some people call it shallow, but you call it having a good eye. You have a very good eye. And you wouldn't mind being, taken care of by a rich man or a rich woman. It doesn't make you shallow. It just, you're just high maintenance. And that's just the bottom line. But the thing is, if your money isn't right, you're probably less confident in shooting your shot or letting someone else shoot at you. Because, your money and your physique is that's kind of where your confidence comes from. So you want to be able to feel pretty, or you want to be able to feel really good about yourself. Your turnoffs are losers, brokies, and people who lack good taste. And you know why? Because the last thing that you need is a lousy caterer, lousy music, shitty food, at your wedding. That's the last thing you need. And it's like your worst nightmare is a shitty wedding. You don't need dull interior, okay? You need high value people who smell good, who taste good. And you probably don't take pleasure in playing the dating game forever. Like, you don't mind, like I said, you don't mind necessarily being taken out and, spoiled here and there, but it'd be nice to just have like one person that you can just like fuck the shit out of, like for the rest of your life. That's really all you want at the end of the day. That's all you need. So if you look at Venus and where Venus is in your chart, this can tell you more about the nature of this person and where you might meet them at. So for a fifth house Gemini, your love life is probably very quick moving, okay? It's like a revolving door. This doesn't mean that you're promiscuous unless you are promiscuous. It just means you're aware that every relationship is fleeting, okay? Whether you're confident in these fleeting relationships you have is usually just dependent on your nature. You can be loyal, but being in a committed relationship and starting a family isn't always going to be the most important milestone in your life, at least not for right now, Instead, it's important. It's something for you to indulge in for the plot. Like relationships they're purely for the plot. Life's a movie. And if you've never experienced the chaos you did relationship-wise, you wouldn't have any character development. Relationships are simply a learning experience that you can post a juicy story time about on social media. Okay, they're strictly for entertainment until you can find that one person or multiple people if you're poly. You love someone who can keep you stimulated in various ways. Okay, you love someone who will listen when you yap about the things that nobody cares about. You love someone who has motion without taking themselves too seriously. Or perhaps this is your nature. You're the type to be on a yacht one day and then you're going to be a librarian the next day. This is why you require somebody that is going to ground you so that you can have stability while you take care of your a million different hobbies and stuff that you want to do. Okay. This way you can run 3 businesses, you can go to school, you can maybe latch a baby on your hip while the other person handles the finances. You don't like squares, but you do like someone who is less complicated and doesn't require every ounce of your attention. They must understand that you have a need for expansiveness and they shouldn't take it as a threat to the relationship, okay? Anyone who tries to pull you away from your special interests or your scholastic endeavors is just a huge red flag. You want to stay away from those people, okay? The last thing you need to do is be trapped in the house all day long. You might be a homebody, but like even if you are a homebody, you still need somebody. You need like human connection. You need somebody to bounce ideas off of. And the thing about Gemini that is tricky is that you have so much curiosity that your curiosity can sometimes get you into sticky situations. And you might find yourself in a situation with a very dictatorial person that wants to try to put you in a box and they want you to choose between them and your hobbies. They might become envious of like your versatility because, you're not easy to tie down or to control. And it might make them feel very like envious and very like, domineering. So you need to be very careful with people that try to put you in a box and they won't just let you be you because you're versatile, you're different. You need to be able to wear many masks and many hats, and you need somebody that understands that. If you have the 5th house in Cancer, to you, nostalgia is more important than anything. So once you find out that someone would be an excellent parent, all bets are off. Okay. If you're a woman, you might attract man children or you might attract people that have mommy issues. But regardless of gender, you may be attracted to those who remind you of your mother or remind you of the home. Partners are attracted to your nurturing nature, and acts of service is probably your love language. So when you dream of the perfect partner, you dream of shopping together, shopping for furniture, cooking together, like family movie nights. This is like heaven to you in a relationship. Okay. So it's very important to have somebody that you wouldn't mind waking up to or waking up next to every day for the rest of your life. And it's very important that this is someone that you can agree on with about how to manage the household. And it's very important that you guys are on the same page about how you should raise your children. In some cases, not wanting a family is a huge deal breaker for you, or not being able to get along with your family, especially your mom or your friends. Or you not being able to get along with their friends or their mom, or their parents or just their community in general. It's very important to you. So even if you don't want to have children, you might be very family oriented in the sense that you really crave community, especially if you were like an older sibling and you raised your younger siblings or that type of thing. Your dream partner could literally be somebody that you grew up with. And it's the perfect family dynamic because not only is it nostalgic, but they've already met your family and they already feel so close to family. They already feel so close to home. So one of your biggest pet peeves is a person who is unwise with money and takes a living space for granted. Like, imagine like spending the rest of your life with somebody that doesn't care about interior design. They just want to have like an air mattress and a TV. They just want to eat ramen noodles every single day. Like, no, you want somebody that wants to cook for you, somebody that values hospitality. Okay. You also need to be wary of people that are very antisocial or try to isolate you from your community. And the thing is, you're also very vulnerable to pregnancy scares, breeding kinks, and hobosexuals. So please be careful. So if you look at where the moon is in your birth chart, you can find out more about this person or these people that you might experience connections with and just more about their nature overall. With the 5th house in Leo, you have the most dramatic love life of all time, like something straight out of Romeo and Juliet almost. Like you could write an entire book about the crazy like encounters that you've had in the dating world, but nobody would believe you. Like nobody would believe any of it because it just, it's so crazy. Okay. The thing is, maybe these stories are part fiction. Maybe you did remember them wrong, or maybe you're an unreliable narrator, or maybe you're right. Who knows? So the thing is, you don't know how to love without loving deeply. So unless you have strong, like Scorpio energy or a strong, like Earth placements, you're probably the person who doesn't mind shouting your love from the rooftops, even if it's short-lived. Like you have to romanticize every single lover you've ever had, no matter how many years it's been. Okay. So you love to tell the nostalgic high school sweetheart storyline, and you love movie cliches. You love like drama. You love the dramatics of it all. Movie cliches, like for example, the football player and the cheerleader, or like the damsel in distress and the knight in shining armor, or the good girl and the bad boy. Like you live for the fairy tale romance, but you're aware that you might have to date for a little bit until you can find it. It's not easy meeting your standards, and sometimes you do question if your standards are too high. I don't blame you for having high standards. You are a Leo. You do deserve the best of the best. That's for you to decide. The thing that your exes and your lovers love about you is that you have this way of making people feel like they're the only one in the room. Okay. You make everyone feel like someone, like even if it's a complete loser, right? You make them feel like they're the main character. And, you are just always able to see the star quality in anyone, because that's a reflection of the star quality in yourself. So everybody wants to be written into your story. Like, even if it's only for a chapter, everybody wants to be written into your story. Because everybody knows that you're going to be something. Everybody knows that you're going places. Okay. So, you must be very aware of obsessive, crazy exes, and you must be very aware of people that try to use your name for clout. Okay. Where is the sun in your chart? Okay. This can tell you more about these people and their nature. 5th house in Virgo. So if you have the 5th house in Virgo or any major placements in Virgo, you're either completely frugal or you're very spendthrifty. So it's hard to find that middle ground. So if you're a simple person, like a simple girl, simple guy, simple person at heart, some of your more low effort partners may take advantage of your low maintenance, generous nature. Okay. And this is because you've become so good at pouring into yourself more than anyone else. And you're used to kind of just having to do things for yourself. Okay. You're used to not really being too dependent on people. Okay. And, you're already so self-sufficient that partners might assume that you don't need anything. And to you, a lavish lifestyle, it's a luxury, but it's not really a requirement, okay? You're not necessarily the person that requires a partner to make 6 figures or more. For this, you might attract bums, you might attract low effort connections, okay? Your motto is like, it's the thought that counts, you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing about you is you manage to discover the romance within the little things. Like, for example, your partner straightened your work office and made you a few pre-rolls and ordered your favorite takeout on Wednesday night, because they knew that you had a nerve-wracking meeting the next day. You're also a sucker for parallel play. Okay. Laughter is a very important aspect of your romantic relationships, as well as your need for interesting conversation. Like, you need interesting conversation. You're basically the unpaid therapist. Okay. People love talking to you because you're a good listener. Or maybe you're the person that likes to talk people's ears off, or people like to talk your ears off. Okay. But you really value conversation more than money, more than anything else. Okay. It gets frustrating because maybe you're trying to convince yourself that money isn't really, it matters, but it's not the most important thing. There's another side of you that loves being pampered and wants to be spoiled and wants to be taken care of, but maybe you won't admit that to yourself because you don't want to be a burden. And maybe you're so used to working so hard that you don't necessarily want to have to ask anybody for anything because you're so self-trusting. It's just so much easier to do everything for yourself. You know how people say mean girls win, and people say girls don't like nice guys. See, the thing is, as soon as you understand this and you start raising your standards, like, this attitude is going to get you pampered. You're going to get pampered. Like, this is the type of partner that you deserve. You need somebody who's going to go out of their way to understand you, to analyze you, and to accommodate your needs, especially if you struggle with a health issue or a disability. Like, you need somebody that is very accommodating, very understanding. Like, they consider you. The highest form of love is consideration. If you look at Mercury in your chart, it's going to tell you more about what type of partners you might attract and where you might attract them at. In my next video, I'm going to finish off the zodiac. I'm going to go through the signs of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And I'm going to give y'all all the tea, just like I did in this video. I do personal readings, and I also write. So if you want to check out any of my services or any of my other links, all my links and all my information is in the description box below. So stay tuned for my next video. See you next time.